Every man who has ever stood in front of a woman has faced the same silent question. Do I ask or do I lead? Most men choose the first option. They ask, they plead, they wait for permission. And in that moment, whether they realize it or not, they step into weakness. Because the truth is this, she already knows what you want. You don't need to spell it out. You don't need to beg. The only question is whether you know how to awaken her desire to give it to you freely. That, my friend, is where the difference lies. It separates the forgettable man from the man she cannot ignore. Imagine two men entering the same room. The first rushes forward with questions. Can I see you tonight? Do you want to meet me? Are you free this weekend? His tone is light, his energy needy. He thinks he's being respectful, but what he's really communicating is this. I need your approval. I'm waiting for you to decide my value. Now picture the second man. He enters with no questions, no begging tone. His energy radiates calm. He does not ask. He moves like someone who already knows he is the prize. Instead of asking, he simply says, I'll be at this place later. If you want, join me. The difference is night and day. The first man bends himself into her frame. The second man makes her step into his. And that's the first law of attraction most men never learn. A woman does not respond to words, she responds to power. Power is not loud. It's not arrogance. It's not endless effort. Power is a frame, an invisible atmosphere that decides who leads and who follows. Think about it. How many conversations have you started where everything felt exciting at first, only to realize minutes later that you were the one doing all the chasing? You were the one forcing the smiles, forcing the laughter, carrying the interaction on your back. That wasn't just bad luck. That was the moment you lost the frame. And once the frame is gone, the game is already over. A woman doesn't consciously think about it, but she feels it in her body. When you ask, when you seek permission, when you wait for her to decide, her instinct registers it as weakness. It's not about kindness, not about good manners. It's about the ancient signals of survival written into her DNA. She feels it in her nervous system. This man is not leading. This man is following. But when you hold the frame, when your presence dictates the rhythm, everything flips. She adjusts her energy to yours. She leans in when you pause. She listens harder when you lower your tone. She waits for your next move instead of you waiting for hers. Machiavelli once said, "True power is never declared, it is simply felt." A ruler does not beg his subjects to respect him. His mere presence commands it. The same is true in desire. A man with a strong frame never says, "Please like me, please choose me." His silence, his posture, his refusal to chase, those are what speak. And here's the paradox. When you stop asking, she starts giving. When you stop chasing, she starts chasing. When you stop begging, you become irresistible. Because the feminine instinct does not desire what is easy to win. It longs for what feels rare. It burns for what feels just beyond reach. It competes to earn the approval of a man who does not hand it out freely. This is why so many men fail without even realizing it. They think they're showing affection by giving too much, too soon, too often. But what they're really doing is flooding the market with their attention until it becomes worthless. It's like water from a tap, always flowing, always available, always taken for granted. But the man who positions himself as rare, who gives slowly, deliberately, with precision, he transforms his attention into gold. Every glance feels like a gift. Every smile feels like a crown. Every moment of presence feels unforgettable. And here's the most powerful secret of all. A woman does not give because you asked. She gives because she feels she might lose you if she doesn't. That's the tension that fuels desire, not certainty, not constant reassurance, but the invisible pull of scarcity, the sense that access to you is not guaranteed. This is why the man who asks is forgotten, and the man who leads is remembered. Because when you command the frame, she doesn't just give. She wants to give. She finds pleasure in giving. Because deep down, she knows she stands before something rare, something irreplaceable. There is a universal law in human psychology. What comes easy is taken for granted, and nowhere is this law more brutally true than in attraction. Think of it this way. When was the last time you treasured something that required no effort to win? You didn't, because the human brain is wired to crave what feels rare, scarce, and earned. This is where most men destroy themselves. They smother a woman with constant attention, flooding her with compliments, texts, emojis, gifts, believing that more effort equals more affection. But in reality, every extra ounce of effort only lowers their value. The more they give without resistance, the cheaper they become. Women don't consciously calculate this. They don't sit down with a checklist and think, "He texts me too much, therefore I don't want him." No, they feel it. Deep in their nervous system, they sense that his attention is too easy, too predictable, too common. And what is common loses its magic. Now compare this with the man who understands the reward trigger. He doesn't give endlessly, he gives sparingly. He doesn't flood, he withholds. And when he finally does reward, when he offers attention, when he gives presents, when he smiles, it feels priceless. Because his attention is no longer water, it is fire, rare, dangerous, impossible to ignore. This principle has been known for centuries. Machiavelli warned rulers never to give favors too freely. He wrote that generosity without scarcity breeds contempt, not loyalty. A wise ruler keeps his rewards rare, so that every act of generosity binds his subjects tighter. Desire works exactly the same way. If your attention flows without effort, it loses its worth. But if it is rare, scarce, and only given when earned, it becomes gold. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same law that keeps gamblers hooked to slot machines. They never know when the win is coming, or how big it will be. That uncertainty wires the brain with addiction. Now imagine that same principle applied to attraction. When a woman never knows when your attention will come, when she feels uncertain about whether she has earned it, her body reacts with tension, and tension is the soil in which desire grows. This is why the man who understands the reward trigger becomes unforgettable. Not because of wealth, not because of looks, not even because of status, but because his presence feels like a prize to be won. Picture two men again. The first floods her with validation. Every time she pulls away, he gives more. Every time she goes silent, he doubles his effort. He's like a dog chasing scraps, and she feels it. The second man does the opposite. He withholds, he stays calm, he allows space. And only when she invests, when she shows effort, when she proves her value, does he lean in, reward, and give. His attention is not free, it must be earned. And because of this, she starts to compete. She starts to give. She starts to invest. Not because he asked, but because she feels an invisible pull inside her chest. I need to win this man. I need to prove myself worthy. This is the paradox that most men never see. The more you give without discipline, the less she values you. The less you give, but with precision, the more priceless you become. Think about it, which burns deeper in her memory, the endless stream of compliments you gave without thought, or the single compliment she worked for, that came after silence. Which hits harder, the dozens of messages you sent when she pulled away, or the one message she receives after she thought she lost you? The answer is obvious. Scarcity creates value, effort creates obsession. But here's the catch. Retention and release must work together. If you withhold forever, you create only coldness and distance. If you give endlessly, you create contempt. The art lies in the balance. Retention means discipline, holding back, resisting the urge to always be available. Release means giving, strategically, precisely, when she has earned it. This rhythm creates a powerful psychological loop. Every time she invests, through effort, care, or attention, and you reward her, her brain makes the connection. Giving to you feels good. That loop grows stronger with repetition. And soon, she doesn't just want to give, she needs to. Because in her nervous system, pleasing you has become survival. And this is why the man who understands the reward trigger never asks. He never begs. He never pleads. Instead, he becomes the prize. He becomes the man she cannot ignore. He becomes the man she fears losing. And that fear of loss, that invisible tension, is what turns attraction into obsession. Every powerful relationship is built not just on what is given, but on what is withheld. Because attraction is not born in comfort, it is born in tension. Most men misunderstand this. They believe if they just stay present long enough, if they keep showing affection, if they never pull away, the woman will feel safe and loved. But safety without challenge is not love, it is boredom. And boredom is the silent killer of desire. True attraction lives in contrast. It breathes in the rhythm of presence and absence, in the uncertainty of when the warmth will return. in the mystery of whether you are still hers to hold. Imagine sunlight, warm, radiant, life-giving. Now imagine if the sun never set, if it never disappeared. Would you still admire its light? No. It would blind you, suffocate you, and eventually you would stop noticing it. But because the sun leaves, because night falls, because there are moments of darkness, the sunrise becomes breathtaking again. That is the essence of presence and absence. A man who understands this principle knows when to give his light and when to retreat into shadow. His absence is not neglect, it is design. His silence is not weakness, it is tension. And tension is the raw material of desire. This is why women test men, not with words, but with silence, withdrawal, resistance. She wants to feel if your frame can hold, if your energy collapses the moment she pulls away. Most men fail here. The moment she grows distant, they chase harder. They flood her with reassurance. They beg for her attention. And in doing so, they prove they are not rare. They are replaceable. But the man who understands the dance does the opposite. He does not panic. He does not beg. He does not collapse into neediness. Instead, he mirrors nature itself. Just as night follows day, he allows silence to follow presence. He retreats with calmness. He disappears into absence, not forever, not with anger, but just long enough for her to feel the tension of missing him. And when he returns, his presence feels like sunlight after a storm, rare, warm, magnetic. This rhythm of presence and absence creates an invisible cycle in her nervous system: anticipation, tension, release. It is the same cycle that makes music powerful, that makes stories unforgettable, that makes desire unshakable. Psychologists call this contrast framing. The human brain doesn't value experiences in isolation. It values them through contrast. Sweetness tastes sweeter after bitterness. Silence makes sound more powerful. Absence makes presence feel unforgettable. The same principle binds a woman's desire. Too much presence suffocates. Too much absence kills. But the calibrated dance between the two creates obsession. Think of it like a heartbeat. Presence is the beat. Absence is the pause. Without the pause, the beat is noise. With the pause, it becomes rhythm. And rhythm is what makes her body crave you. This is why the strongest men speak less than others. Why they move slower. Why they leave silences hanging in the air. Because silence is not emptiness, it is power. When you don't rush to fill the silence, when you don't crumble under the pause, you project calm certainty. She feels it not with her mind, but with her body. Her instinct whispers, "This man does not chase. This man does not fear loss. This man is rare, and rarity is irresistible." But here's the paradox. Presence and absence are not random. They must be calibrated. If you vanish completely, you create only resentment. If you smother with presence, you create contempt. The art is in the balance, the deliberate rhythm that keeps her guessing, keeps her reaching, keeps her trying to earn your attention again and again. When done right, she begins to invest more each time you step back. She reaches out first. She adjusts her plans to see you. She begins to give without you asking, because her body has been rewired to associate effort with reward. And every time she gives, and you reward with presence, her nervous system records a deeper pattern. Pleasing him feels good. That's how obsession is born, not in constant reassurance, not in endless giving, but in the carefully crafted rhythm of presence and absence that makes your energy unforgettable. So, ask yourself, are you the man who never disappears, who floods her with so much light that she stops noticing? Or are you the man who moves like the sun, appearing with warmth, retreating with calmness, and making every return feel like a miracle? Because the answer to that question determines whether you are remembered as another man who begged for her time, or the man she cannot stop thinking about long after you've gone. There is a silent mistake most men make, one that costs them everything in attraction. They walk into a woman's presence as though they are in debt. They act as if her beauty, her time, her attention is a gift they must earn, something they must prove themselves worthy of. And the moment you believe you are in debt, you have already lost. Because when you put yourself beneath her, she feels it instantly. She doesn't need words. She doesn't need explanations. Women sense it. They feel the vibration of a man who waits to be chosen instead of a man who chooses. And here lies the truth. The man who asks loses. The man who chooses commands. Every interaction between man and woman is not small talk. It is a silent negotiation of value. It is a dance of perception, where one leads and the other follows. And in that dance, the man who waits, who pleads, who adjusts endlessly for her, always ends up forgotten. But the man who stands as sovereign, the man who does not beg to be accepted, but evaluates whether she is worthy of entering his world, that man becomes unforgettable. Think of a king on his throne. He does not chase his subjects for loyalty. He does not plead for their respect. His very posture makes it clear, loyalty must be earned. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must never rely on generosity alone. They must create dependence. Because when people depend on you, they cannot rebel. Desire works the same way. When a woman feels she must compete for your time, when she feels that access to you is rare, she invests deeper, she gives more, she cannot afford to lose you. This is not arrogance. This is not cruelty. It is posture. It is the calm certainty of a man who knows his value and refuses to lower it for the sake of being chosen. Most men enter with the wrong posture. Do you want to go out with me? Translation, I'm waiting for you to approve me. The sovereign man inverts it. I'll be at this place. If you want, join me. Translation, I am moving with or without you. The choice is yours, but the value is mine. Do you see the difference? One positions himself as a petitioner, the other as a sovereign. One waits for approval, the other offers opportunity. And the female body, more than the female mind, reacts instantly to this inversion. Her instinct whispers, this man is not asking to be chosen, he is choosing. That single shift changes everything. Suddenly she is no longer evaluating if you are good enough for her. She is wondering, am I good enough for him? And once that question takes root, desire intensifies. Competition awakens. The game has flipped. This is the foundation of what people call the abundance mindset. But understand, it is not about pretending you have endless options. It is about moving with the calm energy of a man who is whole, complete, valuable with or without her. It is not arrogance, it is sovereignty. Because here's the paradox. The more you try to prove yourself, the less valuable you become. The less you try to prove yourself, the more valuable you appear. When you hold this posture, every silence becomes powerful. Every movement feels deliberate. Every word feels like a choice, not a request. You no longer run after women. You move forward on your path, and the right ones fight to walk beside you. And here lies the ultimate truth. Women do not give because you beg. They give because they fear losing you. They invest because they know you are not replaceable. They compete because they feel access to you is rare. A man who begs is always proving himself. A man who chooses never has to. This is why one man fades into the background, forgotten as soon as he leaves, while the other becomes an obsession, a mystery, a presence she cannot get out of her mind. Because when you live as sovereign, you don't just take space, you become the space. You dominate the atmosphere so completely that she cannot imagine ignoring you. And in that presence, she doesn't just give, she wants to give. She finds pleasure in giving, because deep down, she knows. If she doesn't, she risks losing something irreplaceable. This is the ultimate inversion. Not the man who waits for attention, but the man who makes her fight for his. Not the man who asks for value, but the man who creates it. Not the man who pleads for love, but the man who provokes surrender. The man who chooses, the man who leads, the man who never needs to beg, because his very existence is the reward. Attraction has never been about words. It has never been about clever lines, expensive gifts, or desperate effort. It has always been about energy, about posture, about the atmosphere you create simply by existing. Most men never learn this. They remain trapped in the cycle of asking, chasing, begging, hoping one day they'll find the right phrase, the perfect gesture, the magic trick that finally wins her over. But what they fail to see is that winning her is not about adding more. It is about removing weakness. Because the man who asks is replaceable. The man who waits to be chosen is invisible. The man who begs may get attention for a moment, but he never inspires obsession. Obsession belongs only to the man who masters the dance of desire. And what is that dance? It is the rhythm we have been building from the very beginning, the frame that commands instead of begs, the reward trigger that makes your attention priceless, the presence and absence that create magnetic tension, the sovereign mindset that flips the game from proving yourself to being the prize. When all of these elements combine, something extraordinary happens. You stop being another man in her orbit, and you become the gravity itself. She feels it in her body before her mind can name it. The way you walk into a room without rushing, the way you pause before speaking, the way you look, not with pleading eyes, but with the calm observation of someone who already has everything under control. Your silence speaks louder than her words. Your stillness weighs more than her resistance. She senses it. This man cannot be moved, cannot be shaken, cannot be manipulated. And because she cannot bend you, she bends herself. She starts investing. She starts chasing. She starts giving more than you ever asked. Because deep down, she feels a truth she cannot ignore. To lose you would be to lose something rare. This is why rarity is the ultimate seduction. Not looks, not money, not social status. Rarity. Every compliment you hold back until the perfect moment. Every silence you let stretch until it burns. Every smile you give after she worked for it. All of it weaves a story inside her mind. This man is not like the others. He is different. He is rare, and I must not lose him. That story is what fuels obsession. That story is what makes her give without you asking. That story is what makes her find pleasure in surrender. Because when you embody mastery, you don't just inspire attraction, you inspire competition. She begins to compete, not with other women, but with herself. She asks, am I enough for him? Did I please him? Did I do enough to keep him? And in that competition, she invests more, gives more, and attaches deeper. But here's the final paradox. The man who lives this way is not acting. He is not pretending. He is not using tricks. He is simply embodying the truth of his own value. Because the truth is, you are not here to beg for space. You are here to occupy space. You are not here to wait for approval. You are here to decide who earns access to you. You are not here to be chosen. You are here to choose. And once you live this truth, everything changes. Women no longer see you as another man to evaluate. They see you as the prize they cannot afford to lose. Your presence becomes unforgettable. Your absence becomes unbearable. Your attention becomes addictive. This is the new era of masculine power, the end of begging, the end of chasing, the end of waiting for permission, and the beginning of mastery. Mastery of yourself, mastery of your presence, mastery of the atmosphere that makes her give without you asking. Because in the end, the greatest seduction is not what you say, it is what you are. And when you become rare, sovereign, unshakable, you no longer ask, you no longer beg. You simply receive, not because you demanded it, not because you convinced her, but because you became the one thing she cannot ignore, cannot replace, cannot forget. The man who provokes surrender, the man who inspires obsession, the man who never asks because he already knows. What is rare is always given.